Imagine always being alert. Crowds freak you out. You're always watching everyone, waiting for someone to pull a weapon. Doors terrify you. I mean, you're always wondering if you're going to open the door and someone's going to be on the other side trying to kill you. You can't sleep. You're always, distracted. You can't focus on anything. And you're constantly revisiting some horrible event or events in your head. And that's what PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is for me. That's how I experience it every day. And it's becoming a big part of our society with the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's always been there, and we're just now starting to understand it. And I'm going to tell you about PTSD and the problems with current treatments and how the current treatments are fairly ineffective. Then I'll be telling you how PTSD is caused and who can get it. And then finally I'll be telling you how it should be treated. What is PTSD and what are the current problems with it? The Mayo Clinic describes PTSD as a type of anxiety that is triggered through a traumatic event. The American Academy of Family Physicians states that the three branches of treatment for PTSD is patient education, drugs, which they push the most, and psychotherapy, which is the least used, although most effective form of treatment. Tricyclic antidepressants and MAO inhibitors are common, and they were prescribed to me. But I will tell you right now, they don't work. All I ended up doing was puking and sleeping for 18 hours a day. And they're largely believed to be ineffective according to the National Institute of Mental Health. The AAFP also states that medication should be the primary means of relieving the most distressing symptoms, with psychotherapy being a very secondary option that should only be treating more minor symptoms, the symptoms, like sleeplessness or, occasional outbursts of rage. But otherwise, they just want to dope you out with stuff that makes you feel like hell, and which is why most people tend to self-medicate. And it's becoming a problem because PTSD is fairly widespread. And this map up here, it shows the most common occurrences of post-traumatic. The states in white are where they have no data, and usually the darker the state, the more people per million have PTSD. Now, who can get post-traumatic stress disorder? Simply put, anyone at any age can get PTSD for damn near any reason. According to the National Center for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, the condition is caused by traumatic events such as combat or military experience, childhood sexual or physical abuse, terrorist attacks, sexual or physical assault, serious accidents, and natural disasters such as a fire, a hurricane, or, as people in Haiti have seen, an earthquake. There's probably a hell of a lot of people out there who are not ever going to be comfortable in a building again. The National Institute of Mental Health states that it isn't clear why some people, in some situations, get post-traumatic stress disorder. It just happens. I have buddies who went through this pretty near the same thing I did, and they're fine. I have buddies who went through the same thing with me, and they're not fine. They can't even function like I can. Now, anyone can get it, but the National Institute for Mental Health states that certain populations are more at risk for post-traumatic stress disorder. And usually, they found several types of people, or occupations, types of people that can get it. And they found that 18% of firefighters have it, 34% of adolescent car accident survivors have post-traumatic stress, 48% of female rape victims, and, according to them, 67% of combat veterans. Now, the Veterans of Foreign Wars states that number is actually 30%, and I'm going with the VFW because PTSD is so poorly understood. It's pretty much, if you get out of the military and you have some mental problem, they don't take into account what might have happened to you before the military. They don't take into account that a lot of people who join the military joined because they had nothing else in life and came from horrible homes. So it's so hard to recognize that in reality, a lot of people who don't actually have PTSD are diagnosed with it. I wasn't sure I had it until a couple of buddies pretty much beat me into going to a shrink. Now, how should we be handling and treating post-traumatic stress disorder? Well, first is education. I mean, the biggest problem with post-traumatic is there is a huge stigma of weakness. I had a big problem going to see a shrink because I figured, well, you know, my buddies aren't gonna look at me as a guy anymore. It's gonna dehumanize me. I'm not gonna be a dude. And I was worried about losing my job, which I did anyways, but that was because of the economy. But I was just terrified of being the man. And here in soldiers, they asked soldiers whether or not, or what factors would stop them from going to a shrink. And 65% of the soldiers said that they would be seen as weak. And another one said the unit leadership might treat them differently. Now, that wasn't my problem with my buddies. Well, the first one was, but the second one with me, it was, I have a lot of friends who look up to me. I mean, I'm 20 years old, and I'm kind of an idiot half the time, but I have my stuff fairly squared away. I was terrified that they would look at me as being weak and unable to handle myself. So, and then, you know, 59% of soldiers said members of the unit might have less confidence in me. 55% said that there would be difficulty getting time off work for treatment, and 50% said unit leaders would blame me for the problem. And this is a common occurrence. There needs to be better education talking about post-traumatic stress disorder and how you can get it and how it can be treated. It is not life-crippling. It just needs to be treated properly. From personal experience, I will tell you that psychotherapy is the best form of treatment. Now, it doesn't necessarily involve talking to a shrink, because I don't like shrinks. With me, my psychotherapy was sitting around with my buddies and my brother having a beer. And just, not like I did last night, drinking too much, that's self-medicating, and that'll just make the problem worse, but just relaxing, sit in an environment where you can talk and laugh. Laughter really is the best medicine for post-traumatic. And people who are going through the same thing are the best counselors for this kind of problem. They will help you get through it because they know what you're going through. They know about the night terrors. They know about the nightmares. They know about the medications that are just horrible. And they, you know, they understand. They get it. Now, in conclusion, just imagine always being alert. Just imagine stepping outside and wondering if you're going to make it to your car. Imagine driving and wondering if you're going to make it home. Imagine waking up and imagine, you know, waking up and wondering if you're going to make it back to bed. And that's what it is like every day for me. And for millions of soldiers and rape victims and children who were abused, they go through that every day. And the response is to drug them so that they're just mindless drones who can't sleep. And that's not right. They should be treating with psychotherapy and by helping them understand and talk about it. Talking about it is the best way to get over it. And I've told you about PTSD, I've told you how it should be treated, and I've told you the problems with current treatments. So hopefully you'll understand what we're going through and that we're not crazy pariahs, but maybe you'll help us in our battle to fight against PTSD. Thank you.